our work right now on the planet is to bring honoring and sanctity to the invisible just as much as the visible. The invisible results are things like feeling good, things like feeling connected, things like our health, our well-being, a feeling of joy, pleasure.
Embodiment can't be faked. Once you're in an open state where you actually can see through a clear lens, you're not clouded by fear, you're not clouded by the amygdala, you're not clouded by society's news and all the fear-based stuff, and you're just with you. Then you get to decide where you think we actually are.
Energy is information. We're here to experience the full spectrum.
That worthiness is hard for you. There's nothing wrong with you. It is a muscle that we kind of have to learn how to access. You are not disempowered, and you have power in every area of your life all the time.
I believe that chronic illness is an opportunity for us to heal.
Health, it's a choice. Listening to your body if you so choose.
My prayer for the world would be that they would know the infinite love of God.
Aloha and welcome to the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast, formerly known as the Embodied Healing Self Podcast, with your host, jenmons. Join me each week for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around awakening to your soul purpose through 5-element well-being. Thank you so much for joining in. Aloha and welcome back to the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast. This is episode 176 with your host, Jen Mons. I'm so excited to be here again with you this week. I want to start with a quote that you've heard me say over and over again in a variety of ways on the podcast over the years. Your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. And that's by Gandhi, that quote. I'm sure many of you have heard. I usually say some form of this quote as it refers to your beliefs and words, thoughts, and actions become your reality, become your life experience. And this is so true. It really is. It's true for me. It's true for everyone in my community. I witness it over and over again. And so I want to know, does this resonate with you? How is this showing up in your life? 2 weeks ago in episode 174, I talked about how energy loves clarity, and I tapped into our words and our language and how that creates our life story. And so today we're really going to bring the conversation to disempowering language and the importance of disengaging and disconnecting from that disempowering language, because I'm always surprised by the people who are still using it, because I just don't think that we're aware, or maybe we haven't given enough thought or awareness or intention that actually our words are really powerful. And in the world of energy, every word has a vibration. It has a signature, it has a frequency, the words. I mean, if you just say the words fear and love, they feel different. They literally feel different because they are different. They have a different frequency. I love David Hawkins' work around emotions, shame being the lowest vibrational frequency emotion, and the scale of emotions that go all the way up to peace, joy, enlightenment, and just noticing the frequency around our emotions. Well, the same thing happens with our words. This conversation today is about how we can bring awareness to the disempowering language that we're using that we're probably not even aware of, and step into the space of using more empowering language and taking ownership. In 2022, my word was sovereignty, and sovereignty had a lot to do with taking ownership of our life experience in a way that it doesn't depend on the external circumstances, but really connecting with that deep inner knowing of truth. So that even when external circumstances might not show you what you believe to be true in the moment, you have that inner knowing, that inner wisdom, that deep trust, that embodied trust, which is what prosperity is. That 1%, I talk about that 1% of true embodied trust is when the results are not there. That's when you're really digging deep and really leaning into that spiritual growth of like, okay, you think you trust, but do you trust when the results aren't there? Are you able to not focus on the results and the expectations so much that it opens up more possibility? Because that's what happens. If we're so focused on meeting a deadline, a result, an expectation, what if it was going to be better? And in my experience, it always is. And I believe that to be true. It might not seem like it in the moment. Sometimes we go through really, really hard things. And maybe we don't see it for a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Maybe it takes even longer to see that actually served us. I'm talking about breakups, divorces, betrayal, like the things that hurt. How can we look at those and learn from them? It's one of my business accountability buddies, Ryan McKinney. I love, if you're listening, Ryan, I love learning from you. He's been teaching a lot about, sharing with me about the levels of energy leadership. And I speak in the language of energy, and I just love that awareness of like stepping into that level of really just possibility. That true leadership holds that space of, possibility. And that starts with our words. It really, really does. So one of the words, you've probably heard me say this if you've been listening to the podcast for years. I've sprinkled this throughout many conversations that we can remove from our vocabulary is the word should. Should implies shame. If you think about like, oh, I should be doing this, or what should you do? It's like you should, but you didn't, so it's not enough. That's the feeling. And shame is a very low vibrational word and feeling. This is a word I removed from my vocabulary probably 5 years ago. And other variations of should, I believe this is called subjective language, is could and would. Now, would is, so should would be the lowest, and then could, and then would is, the more empowering version of should. But anytime we say, oh, I should be doing this, well, then yes, do it. Just stop right there and make a choice. You either do or you don't. And I have a story to share around this that I have shared before. I was listening to a podcast with an interview, and I do not remember the name. My takeaway from the podcast was removing the word should. But the interview was a person who moved to the United States who was from Vietnam during the time of the Vietnam War, and he was a child. He was like a 7-year-old child. And he had this experience where for some reason, they were about to get on a bus and be taken out of town. And he kind of threw like a temper tantrum, and they wouldn't let him on the bus. So his mom and dad, they, pulled away and had to wait for the next bus. And as that bus drove away, it blew up and almost everybody died, if not everybody. I can't remember the story. I heard this a really long time ago. And later on, this guest on the podcast became an author and wrote a book, and he went back and he interviewed his dad, and he asked his dad, like, do you ever think about, like, what would have happened if we had gotten on that bus? And his dad's response, based on the language, so should is like a language thing that we have in the United States that they don't have in other languages, but based on the language that they speak in Vietnam, and I don't know what that is called, but and all this is just coming through me right now, and I'm just at a loss for words at what that is called, but based on that language, they don't have the word should. So he said, what do you mean? He said it either is or it isn't. You either get on the bus or you don't. There is no like, what if, I should, I could. It's not even a part of their language. And I was just like, wow. Yeah, I've always heard that the English language was a little bit more complicated we travel a lot internationally, and my oldest daughter goes to an international boarding school for high school. And that was the first time that I was really like, oh, wow, we put all these extra words into things that create this meaning and this feeling that actually don't really feel that good. And they don't do that in other languages. So removing the word should really gives you freedom and clarity. It's like, okay, when I notice I'm saying that, if you're still in a space of saying that, just notice and just take a step back and reframe it. And you either do or you don't. There isn't anything you should do. You either do or you don't do. That's just it. It's actually quite simple. It's very clear. Another way that we like to shift language in our circles is when we hear ourselves saying something that feels negative, or it feels like it's from the place of who we've been, because we're always talking about shifting our language and our ideas and thoughts from who we have been to who we are becoming. We just take a step back and we say, until now. So we can say, until now, I've never had support. Until now, I've never had the time to do this, which are all limiting beliefs. But anytime we're speaking in that sense, the first thing we can do is just shift it, is until now, I never took care of myself. Until now, I never really took my health seriously. Until now, I never invested in myself. Until now, I have been running around like crazy. Until now, I've been a people pleaser. And then taking ownership that in that moment, you have the choice right now, because until now, that was true. You were a people pleaser. You have been indecisive. You do procrastinate. You have lived in anxiety. You do freeze. You do believe you're not supported. You do whatever it is that you believe that you're doing that you know isn't serving you. We just start with, until now, I've been trying to hustle my whole life, and now I'm willing to. We can say, I'm ready to, I'm willing to, or I choose, or I am. Those are like levels of empowerment. So I'm ready to, it's kind of like, oh, I'm ready to, but I'm willing to. It's like, okay, I'm willing. I choose is like, now I'm choosing. I'm choosing to do this differently. And then if you really want to be an empowered statement, it says, I am no longer available for this. I'm no longer available for hustle. I'm no longer available for shoulding. I'm no longer available for not valuing myself. Or I am valuable. I am worthy. I am empowered. I am resourceful. I am resourceful with my time and money. I am supported. That's a really strong statement. Sometimes it takes a little, dating other words first before we can get into that true place of empowerment, but our words are really powerful. There's a different energy to I'm willing, I'm ready, and I am. Like just being super clear. Episode 174, Energy Loves Clarity, that's being super clear. That is totally going right to the heart of the new belief that you want to embody. So another big shift is removing the words I can't. And this shows up in many different ways. Like I can't afford that. I can't do that. I can't believe that. I can't see that. I can't travel like that. I can't. So the word I can't, what does that mean? It means that you believe that you don't have the ability. And is that really true? I don't believe that. I believe in possibility. I see it every day in my life in so many different ways. So what are you really saying? What you're saying is either it's not a priority, it's not a value, or you don't believe in yourself, or you don't believe in the thing, or something else. What are you really saying? Shifting from I can't to I don't. I don't want to pay for that. I don't want that support. I don't want that experience. I don't want to spend my money like that. I don't want to commit the time to go to the gym. not I can't go to the gym that much. I can't go 3 times a week. No, what you're really saying is you don't want to, or it's not a priority. And I know this is hard to hear, but it's really clear for you to just notice how you're disempowering yourself through your language. We disempower through excuses all the time. If you believe that you're unsupported, that your husband doesn't support you, or you can't do things because you're a single mom, or you can't afford things because your husband doesn't support you, or you're not making enough money, or you don't have the time, like, just really get clear on what does this really, really mean? Without judgment. Like, does it really mean it's not a priority for you at this time? Does it mean that it's not aligned with your values? Like, what are your values? Do you know? If you say health is your value, but you also say you can't go to the gym 3 times a week, well, there's a misalignment there. So what are the ways that you make excuses? But is another word. Shifting from but to and. Whenever we say, oh, I want this, but, okay, it's like energy drops. Oh, I really want to do this, and I really love this, and I believe in this, but I don't have the time. But I don't have the money, but no one will support me, but I just can't. That's a double disempowerment. Shifting it to and that, again, just simple shifts in our language, shifting but to and then we would choose an empowering choice. And I'm not choosing it at this time. I really want to do this, and I'm not choosing that this is a priority at this time. And I'm not choosing to allow myself to be supported. And I'm not choosing to take the next step at this time. And I'm okay with where I am. And I'm comfortable with being okay with where I am. And I'm not willing to commit the time. Just being really truthful, because that's what you really mean to say. So shifting but to and, releasing the should, shifting the I can't to the I don't, shifting to I am, I'm willing, I'm willing, I choose to I am, and shifting previous beliefs with the word until now. I believe that was true, and now I'm willing to believe this, I'm willing to try this. Those simple word shifts they just change your energy. They change your energy from believing that you can't do things, or that from scarcity, basically. All of those other words that are disempowering are from a place of scarcity and lack of trust, which everyone has in some area in their life. There's always some story to prove and validate where we've been unsupported, where we haven't been resourced, where we haven't had the time, where we haven't had the money, where we couldn't trust God, where we had to work hard. There's always going to be a story to validate that. And as long as you continue to make decisions from that place, then you're going to continue to believe that, and that will continue to be your story. A big one that comes up for the women I work with is just really believing that they're not supported by their husband, or that they can't do it because they're a single mom, so they're just not supported, right? Like they're self-sufficient. Those are two that I often see. So again, what are we really saying? Are we saying that we believe that my husband doesn't support me? I always love to refer to a client I had a couple years ago. She was super awesome, Jessie, whose husband said to her, I'd rather invest in you than the stock market. And I was like, man, we need some more hubbies saying that stuff. That was pretty awesome. I was like, yeah, you go, girl. That's super awesome. And it's something to think about, right? Like the choices we make in investments. What are we really, really saying that we believe in? Are we really saying that we believe in somebody else to manage our money than our spouse to live her potential? I don't know. That's interesting, isn't it? Just interesting things to sit with and be aware of that we don't really know until we hear another possibility. So I want to invite you just to think for a moment, like, what have I heard myself say recently? Where I might have been engaging in disempowering language. What what is not showing up in my life right now that I want to create a shift around? My health, my relationships, my work. And what do I believe about this? Start there, because that's probably, if it's not where you want it to be, that's probably where the disempowering language is. And what do I believe about this? Listen to your own words around what you believe. What do I say? What actions am I taking to support my belief? And what actions am I taking that don't support my belief? What actions am I taking towards what I want? And what actions, thoughts, and beliefs am I still in, keeping me where I am? Like, just simplify it, break it down. Remember your thoughts, your beliefs. What do I believe to be true? That becomes your repetitive thought pattern. This is one of the reasons why I love journaling so much. I have a journal available for you. It's called 13 Moons of Daily Devotion. Every month is a different theme, but the prompts are written to redesign your thought process, your reticular activating system, to start thinking in a more positive way. It's a really simple way to do it. I created it and I published it because so many women were having amazing experiences facilitating gentle healing and thoughts and awareness in different areas of their life. In the journal, we talk about a relationship to joy, to money, to health, to our body, to love, to healing, to abundance, to sacred rituals, to manifesting our dream life. Like, all of that is in there. It's a full year. And one of the ways that we can start to shift that is with a simple 5-minute journaling practice every day. Even if you miss a day, so what? Just setting the intention to become curious about what it might look like to think differently. Because your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions. So if you remember the past 2 episodes I've been talking about, like, thinking it is one thing, but your action is what sets your new belief in stone or not. So if you want to step into trust and out of scarcity, out of fear, and out of lack, then the decision is super important. Are you going to make a decision based on your past experiences? Or are you going to make a decision, kind of a leap of faith, into something new? Because that's where the real trust is. And the decision creates the momentum. The decision to take aligned action. This is what manifestation is missing. Manifestation means that you take aligned action. And sometimes aligned action is a no, but speaking it and getting clear on why, that's coming from a healthy place. Because your words become your actions, and that action creates momentum on your path. You're either going to go one way or the other based on your decision. You're either going to stay where you are, or you're going to lean into something new. Your actions become your habits. All of a sudden it gets easier. All of a sudden choosing to eat healthy every day just becomes the new normal, and you don't even have to think about it. This is not even a question in your mind, because that's just who you are. You embody through habits. Your habits become your values. You value health. You value connection. You value exercise. You value presence. You value fun. Whatever your values are, take inventory of what you say your values are and what you're actually living every day. Because your values become your destiny. Thank you, Gandhi, for that amazing quote. One of my favorites, because it's true. It becomes your life story. You get to be the author of your life story. So what are your top 5 core values? And what are you actually really living in? Something to think about. And if you're looking for support in a way to get in touch with what your values are, or redesign your belief system, I have just the perfect tool for you. It's a journal, 365 days. It's called 13 Moons because there's 13 moons in one year. We also invite you through a membership to join us every month for an intention setting through the month. So we reflect back on the previous month, what worked, what didn't work, what were the challenges, We bring clarity to what actually matters and what doesn't, what we're available for, what we're not available for, and we set the intention moving forward into the new month. We journal together. We have daily journal prompts through the membership. Anybody can buy the journal. It's available on Amazon right now. And through the membership, you have accountability. We meet every month, and then we meet an extra bonus 4 times a year to create mapping, life mapping for professional and personal growth. So rather than goals, we have intentions, and we can integrate some goals too, but it's really more about creating a lifestyle of habits and embodying, becoming the change that we seek. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining in again. I look forward to meeting with you guys on the podcast next week. Check out my blog, jenmons.com/blog. I am committed upon request to transcribing these podcasts into a blog format, and there's also additional blogs that I'm writing. My blog was lost in 2018 when I converted my website, and I was like, I'm just not going to do it. And then several people kept asking me, so I have created it. It's there for you. If you like this episode or other episodes, please share. Check out the YouTube and like and subscribe there. We're also creating some YouTube shorts. I have a couple of different channels on prosperity. I have the podcast. I have some health and wellness things there too. It's pretty old, from 10 years ago. But there's a lot of resources available. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
The content of this podcast is to educate, inspire, and inform you of pathways to an embodied healing self. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice from your medical doctor, therapist, registered dietitian, or nutritionist for any questions you may have regarding your diagnosis or condition.
Friends, and thank you so much for joining again each week on the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast, formerly the Embodied Healing Self Podcast. I am so deeply honored to share this space with you every week. I know that there are many other podcasts that you could be tuning into, and our community is expanding and growing more with each new episode. I'd like to invite you to come on over to jenmons.com/tribe and receive some of the wonderful gifts that we have for you: a meditation bundle, energetic alignment, 5-element wealth, prosperity consciousness. We have a ton of different gifts available for you to enjoy. Now, we have one small favor to ask. In order for this podcast to get into the hearts and souls of like and light-minded people, we need your support. We would love your review, and would love it if you'd head on over to jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review or leave one on iTunes so that we can continue to share the love beyond out into the world. Thank you so much again for joining in. We'll see you next week.